Hey, welcome back. Glad you're still with me. I hope, pray, and trust that the Lord will use this video series to just upbuild your faith and also to further equip you in how you are giving responses to people who are asking you for the reasons that you have for your faith. So we're going to dive right in today. And last video I promised that we were going to get into this topic of presuppositional apologetics. And even as I say that, I want to just reiterate the fact that through this series, I'm going to try to base everything in the Bible and you go straight to the Bible for explanations. I will mention some other names and some technical terms like presuppositional apologetics, and I do that for the sake of streamlining communications. Christians, we create these terms and these names just for the sake of being able to talk and communicate clearly and precisely as to what we mean, what biblical idea or concept we mean. There is a guy named Eli Ayala. You can find him all over the internet, but he gives the definition. He says this, and I think it's pretty good for our purposes today. He says that presuppositional apologetics is a school of Christian apologetics that believes the Christian faith is the only basis for rational thought. This is believed to be true on a biblical basis, which means that it says that the Christian faith is the only basis for rational thought, and we get that very idea from the Bible. And again, we're going to flesh that out as we go. But the main argument for God, the main argument that presuppositional apologetics put forward, it can be said like this. To quote Eli Ayala again, he says this: presuppositional apologetics is a specific kind of method of Christian apologetics, which seeks to bring every thought captive to the obedience of Christ, even the thoughts of the unbeliever. And it is also important to understand that presuppositional apologetics is to be understood as a top-down approach and not so much as a bottom-up approach, in which we're trying to reach the conclusion of proving God's existence. Instead, we start with the truth of Christianity, and we argue that if you reject the Christian worldview, you can't make sense out of anything. So that said, the main argument that presuppositional apologetics puts forward is the proof for the truth of the Christian worldview is that if it were not true, you could not prove anything at all. So in other words, as we are entering into a conversation where we feel like we need to defend the faith or give a reason for the faith that we have, we admit that both we and the person we're talking to both bring presuppositions in to that conversation. We both bring ideas in, no matter if we admit it or not. But we say this: the presuppositions that you are bringing into the conversation without God in the form of Jesus Christ, it doesn't make sense out of the world. But on the other hand, the presuppositions that I'm bringing into this conversation, namely that there is a God and he's revealed himself to us through Jesus Christ in the Bible, that on the other hand makes sense out of things in the world like morality and knowledge. So just to ground this a little bit further in the Bible before we move forward, a key text that I'll mention today is John 1, just verses 1 to 5. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. And all things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." So I bring up that text because it just shows, if I were to zoom in specifically on the verse that says that in him, in Jesus, everything was created. Apart from him, nothing was created. That said, when we look at anything in creation, apart from Jesus, we're not seeing and understanding that piece of creation in its truest sense. And if we can't understand even any part of creation in its truest sense, how would we expect to understand other complex parts of the world sufficiently, like morality and things like that? So a couple more things I want to mention about just this idea of presuppositional apologetics, and that is that this isn't the only school of thought regarding apologetics. Just to name two other very popular schools of thought regarding how to faithfully do apologetics. Again, and we're all trying to do this as faithfully to God's word as possible. As we're trying to do apologetics in obedience to God. So I don't want to take away from the other ways of doing this, even though I do disagree which one is the most faithful or biblically accurate. But that said, I want to point out classical apologetics, and these folks in this category believe that apologetics should be done in a two-step category. It's more of the ground up school of thought, where they seek first to prove the existence of God, and then secondly, they seek to prove Christianity is true by any means really necessary, whether it's science, archaeology, history, all those things. And then the second school of thought I want to mention is called evidentialism. They highlight the importance of using evidence, the evidence in history and archaeology, to really try to prove the existence of miracles. And instead of going all the way back to proving the existence of God, they try to prove miracles. And they say that if these miracles exist, then God exists. And the last thing I wanted to mention today was just where we're going with the next video. So next video, we're going to turn to one of the foundational principles of apologetics. And that is the subject of the authority of God and how that relates to how we make a defense and how we give an answer to those questioning us regarding our faith. Join me then. Have a great day.